Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Trends on Local 3. I'm Latrice Currie. Coming up on today's show, when the winter weather hits the Tennessee Valley, we bundle up and head inside somewhere warm. But what about our homeless neighbors? John Rector with the Union Gospel Mission will tell us what they are doing to help people stay warm and safe, and also how they're working to house and help homeless men get back on their feet. Plus, for Black History Month, join the Divine Nine for an evening celebrating the legacy and service of African-American sororities and fraternities. Also, with the winter season here, the cold weather could actually worsen Alzheimer's symptoms. Advice for caregivers. And looking for a job? The Urban League of Greater Chattanooga is partnering with Unum to host a hiring fair. Trends on Local 3 starts now.
This is Trends on Local 3.
All right, we've seen those frigid temperatures during this winter season. Well, we grab a coat, we head inside our warm office or home. That's what we do. But it's not that easy for those who are homeless in our community. John Rector with the Union Gospel Mission joins us now with more on how they are helping people during this winter season. Hi, John. Good to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Let's start by talking about what you're doing to help those who are homeless stay warm and stay safe during this winter season.
Well, especially at this time, it's a little more challenging than usual because they have relocated some camps, right? There have been some changes in some of the local homeless camps. And so one of the things we're in the process of right now is trying to identify where those folks are. And we'll reach out to some of the other agencies in town and try to share information and then provide what we can, whether it's coats, blankets, hand warmers, whatever we can do to kind of help them get through this cold snap, especially with the, who knows what the weather's going to be this weekend. Just try to be there and provide what help we can.
And that's one of the things, too, because there are warming shelters in different places that they can go during certain hours, but not everyone can fit into the warming shelters or to these facilities. So you have to say, okay, we have to make sure that they are safe and that they are warm, because you hear these horrible stories every year of people dying outside in the cold.
In the cold, in the heat, it's just a terrible thought that in our society today we can still lose folks that way. And so, again, we just try to reach out, coordinate with other agencies, and find out what gaps are there and how and if we can help fill them.
Let's talk about now, first of all, like I said, you do such great work, and you have for the Union Gospel Mission now for 75 years doing this to help the homeless in our community. And you have a focus on men. And we often talk about this. A lot of the men who are out there who are homeless have addiction issues, other problems that have led them to this situation. So you have a program where they can be housed, but you're expanding that program because there's such a need for that. Tell us about this expansion that's underway.
One of the great things that we can do is we offer two different programs. So we have our recovery program, what we call discipleship program, and then we also do transitional housing. The problem is we get way more people interested in our programs than we have bed space for. And so we're in the process of building a new housing expansion. It'll allow us to add 75% to our capacity, or another 8 beds, and that's 8 beds at a time. So over the course of a year, that could be as many as 30 or 40 men that we're helping in their time of need. And so we're asking folks to help us by the foot. For $250, they could provide 1 square foot of this new building. We've raised over $175,000 of the 300 total. And so we're still looking for just a little under $125,000 from folks who'd like to help.
Okay, and again, we saw some pictures there of the rendering of what it will look like, and of course when you all did the groundbreaking for it as well, because it is, like you said, there's a need, and I know that you hate to say, I don't have room for you.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't help you, and I know there's such a need there. And one of the things with your program, though, once they get into this program, it's not like, oh, I'm one of the lucky ones, I just get to come in and have a bed. There is actually a program they have to go through. Tell us how this works once they get accepted into this program.
And so for either one of our programs, we offer a certain amount of structure. They have to participate in work study. Of course, we do Bible studies. We're a faith-based organization. but everything is geared towards helping them address the issues that led them to their situation, whether it's homelessness or coming out of incarceration or coming out of another program somewhere. Our goal is to help them fix those issues. Now, most of them didn't ruin their life in 6 months. We're not going to fix everything in 6 months, but we're helping them build a foundation that they can carry forward and make major change in their lives.
And that's so important, John, when you think about this. So how can the community help you right now? Is it the actual items like the gloves, the hand warmers, the blankets? Is it financial donations or some of both?
It's a little bit of both. We have to have finances in order to pay our electric bill. We'd love to be able to pay that with blankets and gloves, but we can't do that. But at the same time, we need those real items to take out to give to people who are really in need. And one of the things I like to tell people is if you want to know how you can help us, keep a pen and paper by your bed. And the moment you wake up in the morning, start making a list of everything you use. So when you throw those blankets back, write down blankets on the list. When you put your house shoes on, write down house shoes. When you go into the bathroom and use a washcloth or a towel, everything you use all day long are stuff we need to help either our residential clients or those who are still out in the weather.
That's a good idea. Really, when you think about that, what are we using on a daily basis? This is what everybody else needs as well. John, it's always a pleasure speaking with you and the great work that you're doing there at the Union Gospel Mission. So we have your information right up there on the full screen for anyone who wants to contact you, find out more information about how they can help. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Well, they have been around since the early 1900s. They've made significant contributions to the Black culture. We're talking about the arts, and also we're talking about the Divine Nine. How one art teacher in Hamilton County is helping put a Black history program together at the Bessie Smith Cultural Center. Stay with us. Well, during the early 1900s, racism, intimidation, and segregation were running rampant. Black students who were able to go to college were excluded from fraternities and social groups, so they formed their own, which has now grown into a powerful organization known as the Divine Nine. Hamilton County art teacher Stephanie Harden and also Dr. Reginald F. Smith, the president of Kappa Iota chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, join me now with more on what's going on at the Bessie during Black History Month. All right, Miss Stephanie, we're going to start with you. You are an art teacher, and so you just had the love of the arts, which is so important, and you wanted to support the Bessie during Black History Month and spotlight the arts.
Well, my reason, I would say the biggest why is in the art room for me, it's really important to celebrate cultural diversity and make sure all of my students feel represented and have their voice heard, and preparing them for a life as a whole learner. To me, arts education offers that for all of my students. The Bessie Smith Museum is one of our museum partners at Normal Park Museum Magnet, and they are wonderful hosts for this every year, and they put a fabulous program together. And as you know, they have done it for years and years. The reason that I love this art show so much is different Hamilton County art teachers bring work from all different learning communities. We have my good friend, Miss Hogue on Signal Mountain, all the way out to Carrie Cook in Ottawa, and people out in all different areas of the learning community. When I taught in Midtown schools, we had a great group of people coming from Midtown schools. So it's one opportunity every year where you see student artwork from all these different schools, all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade. And the Bessie so generously hosts us and gives us a platform to show off our student work, and we're just so grateful for that. The students feel famous, which they deserve
they're in the Bessie.
Yes, ma'am.
People are viewing their beautiful artwork.
Yes.
One of the things, Stephanie, you sent to me was a flyer also happening about on one of the programs featuring the Divine Nine. And you said, well, Latrice, I can't actually speak for the Divine Nine, but there's this program. But a member of the Divine Nine, Dr. Reginald F. Smith here sitting beside you, who is the president of Kappa Iota chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated here, joins us to talk about that. One of the things, Greek Steps, Black Roots in PHC night. Rachel, let's talk about one of the things, Dr. Smith, here is the role over the years that the Divine Nine has played in society when it comes to social justice, when it comes to education and health.
And so I always like to start off when I'm talking about the Divine Nine as a whole. We say that because it's 9 historically black fraternities and sororities, ranging from Alpha Phi Alpha all the way to Alpha Phi Theta. And the idea here is that when you really think about black history as a whole, it's kind of hard not to open up a history book, read all of those names, and not see a member of one of our organizations. We can think through people like, let's say, Jesse Jackson, member of Omega Psi Phi; Martin Luther King, member of Alpha Phi Alpha; Ralph Abernathy, right, Kappa Alpha Psi. And I can go on and on about Kamala Harris, member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. And so, you know, and not to leave anybody out, but you know, these were people in the early, 1900s, all throughout to today, who were college educated, had the opportunity to go forth and do great things, not on behalf of just, our people, but also as a country as a whole. When we say, the first to be able to do things to really advance our nation, that's what you're talking about. They were the who's who of black history.
They really were. And Courtney, can you put up the list? Because I do think it's important. We say the Divine Nine and everybody, but can you put up the list for us there on the screen to show the Divine Nine so that we can go through that list? So again, go back down a little bit and we'll just read those off because I do think that is so important. So there we go, right there. So of course, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity, 1906, Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which I am proud member, 1908, Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity, 1911, Dr. Smith's Fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, also in 1911, Delta Sigma Theta, 1913, Phi Beta Sigma, 1914, Zeta Phi Beta Sorority, 1920, Sigma Gamma Rho, 1922, and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity, 1963. So one of the things too, all of these, the Divine Nine, will be featured at this program. And tell me about the point of that, why you think that's important. I'm going to turn that back to you, just kind of wrap up, Stephanie, as part of that.
Getting our students out in the community and getting their families, encouraging students, like I said, to share their voice and embolden them and their families to just get out of our little bubbles. And during Black History Month, I think it's important, but every month. I mean, there's always something to be celebrated in the arts in Chattanooga, and getting our students out there in the community, whether it's to see and be part of the arts or be the participant whose artwork is actually hanging on the wall.
Well, that is, like I said, thank you so much, because it is so important that we celebrate this, not just during Black History Month, but all throughout the year. Dr. Reginald Smith, thank you so much for being there as well. And Dr. Smith and I will both be there and see you at one of those events too as well. So
thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
All right. Well, I'm so glad to have you, and thank you for supporting the arts in our community. Well, during the winter season, most of us tend to stay inside. For those with Alzheimer's disease, the cold weather can make their symptoms worse. We're going to explain and look at what caregivers can do to help. While we may complain about the cold weather during the winter season, it can actually worsen symptoms for Alzheimer's patients. Shelby Turner, the chair of the Chattanooga Walk, joins me now. And Shelby, welcome. Thank you. Let's talk about how this actually impacts patients who have Alzheimer's during this time of the year.
So winter, of course, is a hard time of year for a lot of people, let alone if you're living with Alzheimer's or another form of dementia. There's roughly 7 million Americans living with the disease. And so if you think about it, they all typically have at least one family caregiver, if not multiple. So it's a very wide impact. And as many of us do, we get a little down. When the weather gets cold, we stay inside, we isolate, which can be very detrimental when you're already living with some type of dementia. And it's very stressful for the caregivers.
And that is because it's stressful year round, and like you said, even greater that level increases during this time of year. Let's talk about one of the things, some of those symptoms and issues that you see during this time of the year when it comes to Alzheimer's. And one of the things we talk about is sundowning, and kind of explain to people what that is.
So sundowning, very common. I like to explain it just like you and I work all day long. And when it gets close to being done with our day, we start to feel that we start to get tired, we're ready to go home. It's the same thing with dementia. You know, as the sun starts going down, you know, they start getting tired too, maybe agitated, ready to, you know, sit down and rest, but might not be able to explain that to us. So you might see behaviors. And then, of course, with winter, it's getting darker earlier. We're losing that sunlight. Yes.
And so I want to quickly get through some of the other ones like depression, sleep issues, confusion, and wandering.
Yes. So, of course, depression, we isolate, we're inside, we can't go out, the patient or the, you know, caregiver. The confusion with it getting lighter, with it getting darker earlier, can disrupt sleep patterns, which can also increase wandering, agitation, confusion around the home.
And so what can caregivers watching today who are taking care of someone with Alzheimer's do to make this a little bit easier during this time of the year as they deal with this and see their loved one kind of facing some of these issues and they're more pronounced now?
Right, right. Whatever you can do to open up your home, let that natural light in during the day, keep it safely lit when it is darker to prevent any fall risks, more confusion, things like that. And don't be afraid to reach out to a neighbor, friend, if you need something, especially as you're preparing for potential snow and things like that. Make sure you have essential items, medication, an emergency plan, all those things.
That is so very important. And again, thank you so much for being here, because I think that there's not anyone, I always say when I talk about this subject, who has not been touched by Alzheimer's disease through their family or some way. So again, such an important topic. So thank you so much for coming in. And we want to put up the information that you can get if you need help. You need to reach out to the Alzheimer's Association, or there's also a 1-800 number as well. Again, and that is a 24/7 hotline right there, or go to alzheimers.org. And again, that hotline 800-272-3900. Shelby, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Well, looking for a job, the Urban League of Greater Chattanooga is partnering with Unum to host a hiring fair. Find out how you can take part. Stay with us. The Urban League of Greater Chattanooga is partnering with Unum to host a hiring event to help individuals find a job with a livable wage and benefits, which is so important. Joining us now is the Urban League of Greater Chattanooga President and CEO, Dr. Reginald F. Smith II, and Unum's Director of Inclusive Recruiting Partnerships, LaTanya Lyons. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so let's talk about, first of all, Dr. Smith, you know, this event, why it's important and what it is and how it will work for people who come out to this event.
Well, first and foremost, we partner with Unum to ensure that we can connect people who are ready to work, qualified to work, ready to jump into the workforce and do a great, have a great job with the actual employer who is ready to hire people. And so we kind of serve as that great connector of sorts. So what people can expect is to be able to come in, actually have interviews on the spot. We're really big on not having a job fair for job fair sake, sake. Come in and, learn about all these wonderful companies, but not get a call back.
Yeah.
So our wonderful partners at Unum have, for years, been connecting with us to ensure individuals who are ready to work can come in, interview day of, and join the next training class for certain positions.
All right, that's where you come in. Let's talk about that and the Unum's partnership with the Urban League and making sure that, this is something you all felt was important to do to make sure that people have livable wages in this. So talk about the kind of jobs and then why it's important to make sure that they have a salary that they can live off of.
Yeah, so first of all, we partner with the Urban League because we believe that in order to build stronger, more inclusive teams, it starts with investing in our community, right? So the Urban League's commitment to economic empowerment and talent development really aligns with our values and our business goals. So us partnering together, we're able to open new doors for talent with diverse backgrounds and diverse perspectives. Really, ensuring that everyone has access to meaningful opportunities in our company and others as well.
And so that's really important. So you're going to do, Dr. Smith, a pre-qualifying event session. What is that, and how does it work?
So on January 27th, we're going to be working directly with Unum and allowing people to come in, one, learn about the company, learn about the jobs, and learn what it takes to actually land the job. So we don't want to just go and forth and say, hey, community, just come on in and good luck. We want to give people the best foot forward we can to allow for them to go in there fully prepared to assume the roles.
So they can position themselves.
So
and
they
be
can
ready.
position themselves.
And be ready. All right, so again, just talk about, again, you know, the kind of people you all are looking for, and what you all offer.
So for this particular event, we will be doing interviews for positions in our absence operation area. And if those roles don't fit, you know, folks can always visit our career site at unumcareers.com. We are always hiring throughout the company. And, you know, we really want to make sure that people have access and opportunity to make that livable wage. At Unum, our purpose is really about helping the working world thrive throughout life's moments, right? And that starts with our teams. And so we really want to make our people feel supported and ensure that they have what they need to be successful, because when they are thriving, they can take better care of our customers.
Well, you know, again, like I said, I love it because one of the things is that partnerships, collaborations work, and you can get so much more done. And I love what you said about this is about positioning people, not just a job fair to say, hey, we're having a job fair, people come in, and I love it, you're doing pre-qualifying to make sure that they're prepared. So give us again, tell us how people can take part in this, where it's taking place, and the date.
Great. It's going to take place at the Urban League headquarters right there on MLK, and it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on February 5th.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for joining me today. And this really is so important because that's how you build stronger communities.
Absolutely.
When people have jobs and they can support themselves and livable wages and buy homes or pay their rent. So
Absolutely.
again, thank you for what the Urban League and what Unum is doing here in our community. And there is all the information there. And you have it, first of all, the first event on the 27th is the pre-qualifying event at the Urban League. And then the next one, as Dr. Smith said, is from 10 until 4. That's, again, the date again is?
February 5th.
February the 5th. And okay. All righty. So thank you both so much for joining us. And thank you for joining us here for this edition of Trends on Local 3. That's all the time we have today. I'd like to thank all of my guests for sharing their part of their Saturday with us. If you're interested in being a guest, you can contact me at trends@local3news.com. Be sure and follow me on Twitter and join me on Facebook. It's Latrice Currie 3, and on Threads and Instagram at I am Latrice Currie. Stay safe, stay warm, have a great weekend.